drop their info in the chat. I have to do a shameless plug here. I see Kelly is from Greenville, North Carolina, and I'm in North Carolina, and my parents live in Greenville, North Carolina. So, hi, Kelly. Eat some good barbecue for me today if you can. Okay, so I am Lori Pogue, Associate Marketing Comms Manager for Voices for Healthy Kids. I am located in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we also work with the National Collaborative for Infants and Toddlers as well. I'll pass it to you, Tara.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tara Hall. I'm the Senior Marketing Communications Manager for Voices for Healthy Kids, also working on the National Collaborative for Infants and Toddlers. And we have another colleague here on the call who is going to be doing all of our tech for us. So if you run into any technology issues, camera, mic, video, you can type in the chat and she will try to assist you. You can also connect with her directly. If you want to send her a direct message, her name is Andrea Guarnero. You can see her name there in the chat and you can ping her directly for any assistance with tech issues that you might have. Next slide, please, Andrea. So we'll get started here. Voices for Healthy Kids uses a really great advocacy framework called the Power Prism. It was created by My Power People LLC more than 2 decades ago, and it's a framework that was developed as a step-by-step plan that can help you recognize and act on opportunities to build momentum in a campaign for change. Today, we're going to focus on coalition building and maintenance, but keep in the back of your mind that we do lots of trainings on Power Prism. There are 6 total tools that we use, and so one of them is coalition building and maintenance. And then in future sessions, we can work with you to present other tools in the Power Prism. You can ask questions as we're going along. Just type them in the chat and we'll try to get to them in real time. Or what's even better is hold your questions till the end. We're going to definitely have some time at the end to address any questions, comments, concerns that you might have. Next slide, please. And we've got about 54 minutes together, which is an ample amount of time to kind of start diving into Power Prism as it relates to coalition building, but we're not going to be able to really do a deep dive like we would if we had several hours together. So keep this resource in mind. We'll also send it in the follow-up materials after our session today. But this Power Prism advocacy framework was developed by our fearless leader, Executive Director and Vice President of Voices for Healthy Kids, Lori Frisina, back in 2001. It's been used by organizations across the US and around the world for purposes relating to planning, executing, and evaluating campaigns for system change and policy. And so while we're going to be talking about it in the framework of early childhood today, keep in mind that you can actually use this in any advocacy issue. So you're working on nutrition or physical activity or early care and education, you can absolutely refer back to the skills you learned today and use those in whatever advocacy issue you're working on. But the good thing is this website allows you to go a bit deeper and learn a little bit more about Power Prism, and there are ideas and tools on there. So if you find that you want to do a deeper dive than what we're able to do today, please feel free to go to that website. Lori's going to tell us a little bit about what Power Prism is.
All right, ready for the next slide. Okay, all right. It's tempting to want to jump right into methods and strategies, but winning policy change campaigns are those that are guided by these 3 key questions. What do you want? What is the policy change you are seeking to address your issue? Why do you want it? What data makes a case for policy change? And who has the power to give it to you? Which specific decision makers in state or local government have the power to make that change? The answers to these questions can change throughout the campaign, so it's helpful to get into the habit of revisiting them regularly. Once you have found those answers, it's time to come up with strategies for each of the power tools that will influence decision makers. Today, we are going to dig into coalition building and maintenance. Next slide, please.
All right, so influencing decision makers is all about making it easier for them to give you what you want. Think about anytime someone's asking you for a ride home, if you want to go do something on the weekend, it's a lot easier for you to say yes if it's convenient. Same thing goes for decision makers. And so the Power Prism is built on 6 power tools of advocacy that can help apply pressure on decision makers so that you can reach your policy goals. Those 6 tools are research and data, coalition building and maintenance, which we're going to talk about today, fundraising and development, grassroots and key contacts, media advocacy, and decision maker advocacy. Next slide, please. So, like I said, today we're going to talk about coalition building and maintenance. And just keep in mind that you may not need a highly formal coalition to help you win your campaign, but it sure does help. It adds credibility and legitimacy, especially if you have a diverse array of organizations and businesses to get behind one policy proposal. I was just on a call with someone earlier this week, and they were a consultant, and they were talking about how they had met with a decision maker. And one of the decision makers' complaints was that they are getting similar asks, but those similar asks are coming from multiple organizations. And so it's a major time commitment having to email and listen to phone calls and hop on webinars and meet in person with all of these different organizations that are kind of asking for the same thing. So that's where coalition building can really help, is when you can unify under that umbrella with one common goal. It makes the lawmaker or decision maker's life a little bit easier, but then there's also that strength in numbers when there are multiple organizations asking for the same thing. Coalitions, in the end, make it easier for lawmakers to satisfy many organizations at once rather than having to satisfy each of those organizations one by one. But you don't want a coalition that looks like you, sounds like you, thinks like you, does the same thing that you're doing, is you, right? You want a varied and broad coalition. Those have power because they have members that appeal to decision makers with different political ideologies. So you're going to want to get people on your coalition who are across the political spectrum, across the values spectrum. It also, having a varied coalition also allows you to tap into decision makers from different districts from your own. And while I'm saying all of this, keep in mind that coalitions are also about much more than the organization and the membership list. It's not just a bunch of boxes that you want to check, okay? Strong power building coalitions are those that have practice to make it easier for all members to participate and actively work to share power across their organization. And so Lori, in the next slide, if you could go there, is going to lead us in a little bit of a group activity, do some level setting and understanding who's on this call with us today.
All right. So let's circle back to where we started. When you first joined the call today, you were asked to kind of rate yourself from 1 to 10. And so we're going to talk about what is your experience with coalition building. I'm going to take a look at the chat and invite a couple of folks to come off mute and share their reflections. Let's see here who I want to put in the hot seat. Okay, how about Danielle? Danielle has a lot of experience working with different types of levels of coalition. But let's hear from you a little bit about your experience.
Okay, hi, I'm Danielle. So I've worked a lot with a lot of the human services realm, from early childhood to domestic violence, to youth mental health, now more with some medical driven initiatives. So always more of like a helper and a mover, but not so much of, like I would say, like an organizer or a leader from my perspective.
Okay, great. Let's see who else I can call on. How about you, Kelly?
Hi, I have varied experience with coalitions, generally as a participant. I have experience in the early childhood realm as well, as the help field, and that's where my coalition sort of building skills have come from. And I am currently in the process of building out a statewide coalition in North Carolina that is focused on child sexual abuse prevention. So I am in the throes of coalition building right now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's see, one more person. How about Kayla from South Dakota?
Yeah, hi there. Kayla, I'm in a restaurant at the moment. Or a coffee shop. I apologize if you can hear in the
Okay,
background.
it's okay.
So yeah, I everywhere from small groups to larger coalitions, bringing together cross-sector partners, finding some shared messaging, working with partners and changing the messaging based on the audience, everything from like a marketing, communications campaign to even just setting policy goals and initiatives within those teams. I don't know for sure how deep you want me to go, but I would say it varies from local to regional to statewide coalition building for me.
Well, this is great. I mean, this helps us kind of segue into our next bit of discussion prompts here. So let's go over a couple of things, a couple of questions. What's one tack that you've used to make your coalition stronger? That could be like any type of messaging doc, one pager, rotating leads. Another question is, how did you recruit a non-traditional partner? And last, what's one practice that has built trust quickly for you with um, coalition building? So, and this is kind of a free for all. So, if anyone wants to come off mute and answer any of those, I'll repeat it one more time. What's one tactic you've used that's made your coalition stronger? How did you recruit a non-traditional partner? And what's one practice that has built trust quickly? Anyone want to chime in?
Hey, Lori, Ben.
Hey,
Can you hear
Ben.
me okay?
Yes.
I love this. I'm enjoying. I love your questions. I've been a recipient of the Power Prism training in those three key questions in the past, and my answer to this is kind of Power Prism-y. Who can give you what you want? So for coalition work, I just felt in so many of the like tobacco coalitions I had worked on is the big one that comes to mind. We were meeting so often, we were doing so much work, so much had been done in the space, and it just felt like we were just coalitioning. So we were getting a bunch of movement, but it didn't feel like progress. And when we got crystal clear on what we wanted and then who could give it to us, in every meeting we came back to the who could give it to us of like, okay, we want this tax, we want this appropriation, we want this. We were really clear on that. And instead of just meeting and meeting and meeting, every meeting, when we started saying, all right, who can give us what we want, and we knew what we wanted, and we started mapping toward that person, that changed our whole coalition work. Because instead of just having meetings, it was like every time we were like, all right, what are we doing to get closer? What did we do? Did we do the thing that got us closer to and give us what we want? Did we connect with the people that can connect with the person? And so that's what came to mind in answer to your question.
That's great. All right. Anybody else want to chime in on that one?
I hate to put Kayla back on the spot, Lori, but I'm curious about this non-traditional partner because I think that's something that we can all take away. It's easy to find like organizations. It's a little harder to find ones that might be a little different from you. So Kayla, could you tell us a little bit about what you meant by non-traditional partner?
Yeah, absolutely. I teach some I've created an advocacy boot camp around this actually because I find it really interesting. Building trust is one of the key pieces in order to establish that relationship with a non-traditional partner. But for me, communication and relationship building are like the top two pieces in order to make a relationship successful. And I put in there because it might sound a little bit odd, but like I'm creeping on the person I want to get to know. But you know, I want to, if I'm, let's say, for example, one of the coalitions we were building in South Dakota was around childcare, and we wanted chambers and economic development to be involved. And so I made sure to look at the policy priorities of the state chamber learn a little bit more about the chamber director's position, kind of look at some press releases, how he was quoted, things that he's worked on in the past and how they intersected with childcare, and then just simply asked him for lunch and wanted to get to know him. Again, I didn't come in with any ask. I didn't want to come in with like, oh, hi, nice to meet you, and we want you to do this, or we need you to step up to the plate by doing X. It was simply just getting to know him first. And then, of course, explaining to him about what we were doing within our child care advocacy pieces, leaving him with some information, and then intentionally following up after that lunch and establishing that ongoing relationship and hopefully being the source of knowledge for him within that area and continue the conversation from there, which led to a really great partnership. We've been partnered with them for the last 3 years now. So it's all based on establishing trust and then positive, consistent communication and tending to the relationship is what I've found to be helpful.
That's really great info. And I also noticed in the chat, like Daniela, hopefully I pronounced her name right. She also mentioned one-on-ones with members. And I found, just in everyday life, it's easy sometimes it's convenient to shoot someone an email or a text, but really taking the time out to go talk to them one-on-one, actually make physical contact, shake their hand. It's just something about that in-person connection too, that really helps to build trust as well. And then someone also mentioned in the comments, and my background is in graphic design, so this really just set off my spidey senses. For larger coalitions, having logos for every partner on a shared one pager has a big impact. And it does because when, individuals or companies can see who else you're working with, I feel like that really drives home the fact that, you are making an impact and you can be trusted as well. So we'll keep it moving on to the next slide, but this is great info. Okay, so many of us have heard the slogan, nothing about us without us. Variations of this slogan have been around for centuries, but in modern times, it's best known as a rallying cry for the disability rights movement growing out of the work in South Africa in the 1980s. Simply put, this reminds us that no policy should be decided without the full and direct participation of members of the group affected by that policy. Can move on to the next slide if you like. Coalition participation is an important part of this. It's critical that campaigns working to improve community conditions consistently seek leadership, counsel, guidance, and practical feedback from members of these communities intended to benefit from the proposed changes. This is more than offering a seat at the table. It means sharing power, decision making, and making sure that they also own the table. Next slide, please.
So remember earlier, we talked a little bit about how we have 6 tools with the Power Prism, and one of those was research and data collection. And in that training, we talk about the different types of research that are important for campaigns to undertake. Several points of research are critical for coalition building. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So one of those elements that is critical, and we saw some of that in some of those comments that were just in the chat, is community-informed research. So one way to think about that is pathways to influence. And you might call it something different within your organization, but that's essentially thinking of who is the decision maker who can give me what I want. Let's say her name is Representative Sharon Smith. So I might do a quick Google search, look up Sharon Smith, see what kinds of organizations she's a part of. What does she care about? What does she talk about on her website? Is she a parent or a grandparent? What did she do before she became a decision maker? What was her career? And then I can go to social media and maybe look and see, does she have a LinkedIn page? And do we have any contacts in common? Maybe we do, and I can reach out to one of my contacts and say, hey, would you do an intro? Same thing for Facebook, X, Instagram. Just kind of trying to see how are you connected with the people who can give you what you want, and what are those degrees of separation. So that is one way to really do to dig into that community informed research, but there are endless ways. An important tool, or at least what I think is an important tool these days, is AI. I sometimes will use an AI chat tool just to help me brainstorm and start getting some things on paper. And so we're going to do a quick activity here where we're going to use either, you can use your favorite chatbot like ChatGTP or Copilot or Gemini, or if you're someone who doesn't really feel comfortable using AI, you don't have to. You can use whatever your favorite search engine is, Yahoo or Google. And so I'm going to give you a prompt to put either into your AI chat or your search query. And what I want you to do is type that in, press enter, skim the responses that you get, and then think about what is the one that resonates most with you. Pick that one, you're going to put it into the chat and just give a one-liner, one quick sentence or just a couple word phrase about why that resonated with you. The goal here is to help others on this call see some of the traditional and non-traditional ways that you can do some of that community informed research. And so what I'll do is I will copy and paste what generates for me in just a moment, just as an example. And there's a good chance we're going to get slightly different results, which is going to be great. That diversity is what's going to help us build a stronger list of ways that we can participate in community informed research. And then what we'll do is after the call, we'll compile the list from the chat and send that out to everyone so that can help you do this on your own. So hopefully you're going to walk away with like a nice, robust list of ways you can do community informed research. So the question is in the chat. It's what are the top 3 ways prenatal to 3 advocacy coalitions can conduct community informed research? Copy and paste that from the chat, put it into your AI chat tool or into your search query, skim the results and pick your favorite one and paste that into the chat for us. And I'll show you what I got. You don't have to post the whole thing. Just pick one of the 3. Which one resonated most with you? And paste that one in the chat. And if you feel compelled, why? Why did it resonate most with you? So I'm working on mine right now, and I'll have it there as an example for you in just a second.
Sarah, I love this so much. This is so good. So can I talk about mine?
Yeah, please do, Ben.
So participatory action research. And this method involves community members as co-researchers throughout the entire process. So everybody on my team knows, like, I've got this quote that I obsessively say because I got a master's degree in brain research 20 years ago. And it's the brain that does the work, does the learning. And so literally, I'd never typed this prompt into ChatGPT before, but this first one to me is about co-collaboration. And not only are they learning about the community, but by doing it together, they're building relationships of trust with each other as co-researchers and sharers like we're doing on this call. So I absolutely love this PAR, participatory action research, that together, you're doing this process. And it like I put it in the chat, like why it works and then how to implement. I just love it.
I'm going to look and see. Let's see, where is yours? Ben, I'm curious. Ben, can you tell us, as someone who has done coalition building before, and we heard, I believe, Kayla talked a little bit about building that trust. Talk a little bit about why building trust and ownership is important when it comes to coalition building.
Oof, I got some really good bad examples of how I screwed it up as an early lobbyist that I could just swallow the whole call with. I can remember distinctly the president of the Nevada Tobacco Prevention Coalition cussing me out on a call after a meeting. And at the time, I felt completely justified in calling him out in front of the whole coalition. But now that I'm, 15 years old, it's like that didn't help the work. So relationships matter, and they always matter, even with people that you distinctly disagree with. And how you disagree publicly with somebody is really important. I would say relationships. I love 2 or 3 people that I commented on them put in here that they had one-on-one meetings with non-traditional partners. And that's kind of where my mind was going with that, of those one-on-one meetings. The concept of breaking bread isn't just meant to be amongst church members, right? Like coalition building to me, like the starting point of that is if you're truly a coalition leader, whether you got the title or not, you're individually and collectively breaking bread with members of that coalition and not just talking about the coalition. You know the names of some of their kids. You know that they just had somebody go to college. You know that they're working hard on this or that. And you know a little bit about the load they're carrying, not just within their work that they're working with you, but just in life a little bit. And when you break bread over and over again, the work itself makes it so you're like, oh no, I forgot to do this thing. And you can text Bonnie and be like, Bonnie, like, I forgot to do this thing, instead of trying to hide it and make up for it in a little 5-minute right before the meeting. And together you guys can own something and get it right. Because it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. And that's, to me, in coalition work, breaking bread is so critical in building the relationships among your teams.
Thank you, Ben. And I'm glad that you brought that up because yes, breaking bread is important, but it's also important to make sure that we're breaking bread with people who feel comfortable in sharing their voice. It is critical for all campaigns to pause, just take a moment and make sure that there's a community voice in any of the policy work that you're doing, especially if it's intended to solve issues within that community for the people who live in those communities. From the time that this idea is being explored all the way through its implementation and evaluation. And so while many of the campaigns we work with have had time to think about this work as part of like their grant application, for example, it's really important that we don't overlook it in our coalition building work so that we can continue to make room for community-based organizations and voices. We want them to have that seat at the table and to not only have the seat, but feel comfortable to raise their voice when necessary. So ideally, here at Voices for Healthy Kids, when organizations are applying for funding, they will be of the community and they'll have a strong sense of what the community wants and needs and believes. But if you find that you haven't thought about those things, take that pause and think about, okay, who is on our coalition? Are they of the community? And then start thinking of those non-traditional partners as well. And are they of the community? And try and bring all of those groups together to help you pass the policy that matters. Ultimately, what it comes down to is finding and building trust with community, and community-led organization should really be a top priority for you. Next slide, please.
Right. So in the research and data collection training, we discussed community informed research. While this research is critical to your policy issue, it is also critical to your work to build a truly reflective and welcoming coalition. Your campaign should be conducting research to determine how the community has been included to this point, to learn the priorities of a community, finding existing resources of a community of community informed research, and then understanding the history of a community. Develop a sense of strengths and assets of a community and value those attributes. We had the great opportunity a few weeks ago to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and learn all about the Hmong community. And we took a trip to their marketplace, and just having a moment to have a presentation about their community and how they established their roots there in that area made the visit even more meaningful. So try to learn something about the people that you are being involved with before just popping up and saying, hey. Remember our third question, who has the power to give it to you? We can dig in more by asking which specific decision makers have the power to give it to you and to make the change. Depending on your area, these key decision makers may be leaders of committees that your legislation may be initially heard in, city council leaders, or other decision makers. What motivates these key decision makers? What are the most pressing issues for communities that key lawmakers serve? Knowing the answer to these questions will help you identify organizations that could be helpful partners in your work so that you can begin to build relationships with them if you don't already have one. Okay, how and which organizations will help you access and influence those decision makers? Beginning to identify organizations that can have an impact on lawmakers is critical to your organization and your decision making advocacy. You can identify gaps in your current partnerships and begin to build a coalition that can have significant influence on lawmakers. In addition, conducting this research early in your campaign will help you find pathways of influence so you don't waste your time, or ways to connect with lawmakers on the issue through common interests and contacts. You may find that your current coalition or partners already have relationships that can help you reach any key decision makers, and doing research early on will help you plan who and how to contact most effectively. There's a saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So you never know who knows who. So you have to use that to your advantage. Okay, so on to our next group activity. Let's workshop this concept just a bit. Can someone come off mute and tell us what you and your coalition want, why you want it, and who specifically has, as in a decision maker's name, has the power to give it to you? Let's see here. Would anybody like to share so I don't have to volunteer anyone?
I can share.
Okay,
Hi everyone. So I am with Children's Opportunity Alliance in Montgomery County, Maryland. We are building coalitions around early care and education educators and parents, so that and business leaders as well, so that we can all be aligned around the need for a dedicated and sustainable funding stream. for early care and education that would support both the expansion of subsidies for income eligible families, and as well as a pathway to pay parity for educators with the school system. And so, yeah, we believe that the decision makers around this would be our county council. We do not have the access to a voter ballot initiative in our county. However, we do need the county council to agree that one of the existing revenue raising options work. Like there's an existing tax that can be either increased or the revenue can be set aside. So we do believe all the council members need to agree on that. It needs to be a unanimous vote. For, let's say, the property tax, but for other taxes might be like a majority vote. And we have 11 county council members. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. So I guess moving on to the second part of that, we were going to do like a group search using public professional sources, whether it be like a press release or legislative page or in the news, for that decision maker. But that's not just one decision maker, it's the whole council. So, but it's this presents an opportunity because I imagine there's several council members. So, and you said this was for Montgomery. What location is this for? What city council would it be?
The Montgomery County Council.
Okay.
For Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay, for Montgomery County, Maryland. So if everyone just wants to take a moment and perhaps look up one of the council members and we can see kind of what that person cares about and how we can make that connection. One of the things that I like to do, I joke and say, sometimes I'll Facebook stalk somebody, but it's not really Facebook stalking. But, like, even like, for example, the connection that I made with Kelly on the call about where she lives and the barbecue that is very popular in that area. Just that quickly, there's a connection there. I know she likes to eat good like I do, so that's a conversation that could be had just from that. Or it could be where, you could see where one of the council members' kids might play soccer and your child may play soccer. And that could be like an entrance point there to start talking about kids and then let that stem from somewhere else. So we can do a little bit of stalking here. Not really, but yeah, going on online and
what question did you put in, Tara? That's really great. I don't know that I saw that before about Councilmember Joanne.
I used AI again, and this is what I typed. Who are the Montgomery County, Maryland council members who care about children's issues?
Gotcha.
And there you have it.
Thank you. Yeah.
There you have it.
I'll use the whole thing. It's a longer list actually. So I'll paste the whole thing in the chat.
So we work very closely with Councilmember Jawando and with Albornoz. Jawando represents, like you have here, the Early Childhood Committee, and Albornoz, the Department of Health and Human Services. But what I didn't know was this Child Investment Fund to support youth development. So that's really, really very helpful.
Yeah, and just that simple. You can see how she was able to prompt that and get the answers back that we needed. So hopefully everybody else has had a chance to play around with that. And if you like to drop some of your responses in the chat, you're more than welcome to. But that was a great example to see how easy it is to find out, what someone is passionate about or what they care about or what their platform is built on. We can go to the next slide.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and I'll go back and I'll paste the rest of what I found in there for you. And we'll also, when we send the follow-up, we can include that information for you as well. And then, you know what, if others are still searching or if you're still finding any connections, pop those in the chat so we can share those. It's really helpful sometimes to do a group activity like this because you find things or you think of things that maybe the person who needs it doesn't. So group share is great. So once you've done that homework, kind of like what we're doing now on a key decision maker, you then need to figure out how your sphere of influence matches up to their world, or how you can make your sphere of influence match up to their world. Coalitions are one way to do that. Remember, we were talking earlier, it's a lot harder when it's one-on-one, but when you've got 12, 15, 50 members, they're going to have 50 people are going to have definitely have something in common with that one lawmaker more than just a one-on-one. So if you can understand the details about what makes that decision maker tick, what motivates that lawmaker, you can really start to look for organizations that may have an interest in your proposed policy and can also be influential coalition partners. So for example, let's say you find out that your key decision maker is an avid supporter of their local YMCA, and maybe you're trying to pass a summer lunch program. That's one in. Or maybe you learn that your decision maker's spouse is an active member of the Greek Orthodox community, and you decide to invite, like, I don't know, the health ministry from your local Greek Orthodox church to engage in the campaign. So finding those little connections is a great way to make your coalition stronger. And thinking of the non-traditional partners, like, you know, a church, a religious organization, that is a really good way to help bring those different partners into those discussions. These are called opportunistic recruits. It's something that we do dive a little bit deeper into on the website. So earlier we showed you that slide where you can learn more about the Power Prism and specifically do a really deep dive into coalition building. We unfortunately don't have time to do that today, but I encourage you, if you want to learn more about opportunistic recruiting, definitely go to the website and dig into that, and we'll be sure to send that in the follow-up as well. Lori, next slide. Oh, Lori, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to move on and talk about understanding your opposition. Opposition can take many forms. It can be industry interests that oppose policies that impact your bottom line, or it can be key decision makers, peers that might oppose policy that they feel impacts their district in one way or another. Understanding who has historically opposed your issue and working with your bill sponsor to understand their sense of who the opposition could be will help you form a coalition that counters the potential argument. It can be tempting for advocates to think they don't have opposition because of the goodness of their cause. But most policy issues have at least two sides of the story, or we wouldn't need elaborate campaigns to make the change. For example, uh, if you're working to increase public benefits such as SNAP incentives, WIC, Head Start, and more, you may run into opposition from organizations that oppose tax increases of any sort. If you're working to increase access to early care and education, you may face opposition from lawmakers who feel like the community is already addressing the issue through local programs like those at their local place of worship. If you're working on paid family and medical leave policies, you may run into lawmakers that believe it's just too expensive or even that moms should stay home, making the policy unnecessary. And there's this kind of opposition that simply fear that if you win, they will lose. That appears when there are powerful interests fighting for the same limited resources. In state and local battles, winning your funding may come at the expense of someone else's budget priority or pet project. This opposition can be based in fear. In fact, and it's important to think through where those pain points might be early and often so you can try to neutralize those forces through relationship building and information sharing. Next slide, please.
Effective coalitions focus on specific campaigns rather than a general cause. So advocacy campaigns keep coalition members engaged because they work toward policy goals that are important to each individual member, but that can only be achieved as a group. Your coalition will be most effective if it brings together 4 layers of members, and we're going to go through those. But first, next slide. First things first, in order to build a power sharing and building coalition, it's critical that you involve leadership from communities that are most impacted by the proposed policy. Remember, making sure that people of the community have a seat at the table. Next slide, please. So if your organization is not led by and representing the communities most impacted, make sure you're doing the work to build those mutual and meaningful collaborations with the organizations that are. Next slide, please. Lori's going to tell us a little bit about those 4 layers.
All right, let me take my mute off so I won't start talking this time again. A powerful coalition list is one that anticipates and answers the toughest questions about your policy proposal. Organizations that share your mission are important to show lawmakers that there is agreement on this issue. But showing agreement among a broad group with some unexpected partners can also help you advance your policy with lawmakers. Remember, you can keep engaging new partners throughout your whole entire campaign. For example, as the state legislation moves through the legislative process, you will have new key decision makers at each step. Engaging new partners who might have positive connections or are based in key decision maker legislative districts can make a difference, even if they are just willing to sign on a letter of support. Next slide, please. All right, so we're gonna look at this as an activity here. This is a potential, this is an exercise that we can do. I don't know, we're getting close on time, so let's see here. We might have to, well, I'll still go ahead and let you know what it is, but this might be something that you can do in your own time. You're going to take 10 to 15 minutes brainstorming. So you can leave with some ideas and some opportunities. And you can research these on your phone and also in your computers, and just have this here as a resource, and look up other decision makers on social media. So we are going to skip over this just to save on time, because we know some people may have some questions. So we'll go to the next slide, Andrea.
Yeah, that's a really good activity, and it's a nice worksheet. It'll be in the slide deck we send out, and it's a really good way to kind of go through and build that coalition in some ways that maybe you hadn't thought of. So, final thoughts. We've talked a lot about coalition building. We've talked a lot about relationship building. Some of the thoughts that stuck with me is making sure that, you're not just asking people. I'm kind of paraphrasing what someone else said, but you're not just asking people when you want something, but you're building a relationship with them and keeping that relationship going. And so in the chat, if folks could just put down one of their things that they might take away. It could be something that you learned from us. It could be something that you learned from someone else on the call. Maybe they put it in the chat or they came off mute. But just one thing that you'll take away and maybe keep with you as you're working to build your own coalition in the work that you do. And like I said, for me, it was really making sure you're engaging either potential coalition members or actual coalition members beyond just making asks of them, but making sure you're engaging and building that like a real relationship that's built on trust. And while you're doing that, if we can go to the next slide, one of the great things Voices for Healthy Kids does is we've got about 24 staff members, all with different specialties, niche interests, who can offer technical assistance. Excuse me. And so as a grantee, you're able to reach out to us on the TA portal to help, with anything related to a campaign that you might be needing. Here at Voices for Healthy Kids, we are here to support your advocacy campaign through this variety of technical assistance opportunities to help you plan and execute your campaign using the Power Prism. And so here are just some of the ways, we talked about coalition and community engagement, the importance of media advocacy, science review. This is key because, you don't really want to just throw random facts out there if they're not rooted in science. So we can help you with that science review to make sure you're pulling, data that is relevant and accurate. Subject matter expertise, translation services, especially for those who might be working on campaigns with groups of people in the community who may not have English as their primary language. So as you're working on building that campaign, as you're working on whatever your campaign objective is through the Power Prism, keep in mind that Voices for Healthy Kids can offer some really tailored technical assistance for you. Lori, next slide.
Okay. All right. And we're wrapping up here. Just remember, this is at no cost to you. It's free. Voices for Healthy Kids, we really want to build your advocacy skills and your capacity to advance policy change and build influential relationships with these individuals and organizations. We're all working to make each day healthier for children. We do this by supporting strategic campaigns, training, technical assistance, just like Tara just said. You can go to the next slide, Andrea. Just really remember coalition building and maintenance takes work, but you're building power and you working on campaigns in ways that will pay off for every aspect of your campaign work. Knowing individual lawmakers specifically has the power to give you what you want, and that's critical. It allows you to utilize all of the power tools to influence key decision makers to support your campaign goals. As we're closing out, we have 4 minutes left. If you want to just drop in the chat one takeaway or one favorite thing that you plan on applying, or that you would like to learn more about, we would love that because we can go back and look at the chat and use that as a way to know, as far as the effect that these trainings are having, and also to get in touch with you. Thank you so much. Please drop in the chat one takeaway or favorite thing you want to apply or something you want more information on. And then also complete the survey. Tell us your thoughts. Okay. Utilizing AI to search for key partners and make connections, right? That was, I really enjoyed seeing Tara do that. It's like, whoa. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, research. Someone else said that in the chat as well. Chat GPT stalking. Yeah, right, Kelly? Yeah, AI. I'm seeing lots of comments about AI. The wave of the future. Yeah. Group discussions. That's right. One-on-ones. Okay. Yeah, this is great. We have a couple minutes left. Are there any questions or anything that anyone may have as we wrap things up? Have a couple of minutes for questions. If anyone wants to come off mute. Okay. Well,
All right, well, I think we can close things out. I'm going to put our email addresses in the chat if you want to take a screenshot or whip out your camera, take a picture. You're always welcome to email us with questions. And if we can't get you the answers, like I said, we've got nearly 24 people on our team. We can help find those answers for you and link you up with someone who can assist whatever issue you might be facing. We're going to share this recording. We'll share the slides. We'll also share some of the comments that were put in the chat with all of you in a follow-up email. That way you can take those key discussion points that we made throughout our session today and put them into, the real life amazing work that each of you is doing. So thank you again for joining, and we hope to keep hearing from you in the future as we continue to make progress in this really important space. Thanks, everybody.